Uh, good afternoon, everybody, I guess. No, good evening. It's 4 o'clock. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's school transportation coordinator training. My name is Pinky Advani, and I'm the Senior Business Development Manager for Arlington Transportation Partners. Before we get started, I just thought I would address a few housekeeping. We request all participants to stay on mute throughout the training session. It is not mandatory to have their camera on, but we like seeing faces, familiar faces especially. So if you decide to keep your camera on, that's your choice. If not, that's fine too. As Michael mentioned, this training is being recorded and would be shared with you later. And lastly, we will have time for questions at the end of the training, but all throughout the training, if there's a question that pops up in your mind, feel free to put it in the chat box and we'll definitely make sure to address all those questions towards the end. Next slide. So here's just a brief overview of what we'll be discussing today, essentially our agenda for today. We will start off with sharing some information about who is ATP, who is Arlington Transportation Partners, followed by introducing you to our team and my co-presenters today. And then we'll be sharing with you ATP is how ATP is your best resource. You will be hearing from the site plan team, which is Erin, who about the site plan process and physical spaces. And then you'll also be hearing about your role, what's important, what you should be knowing as a STC, and then the ATP focus support that's available. And like I mentioned, we'll end it up with questions, answering your questions that you may have towards the end. So next slide. So let's get started with just getting you familiar with ATP. So Arlington Transportation Partners is a program of Arlington County's commuter services, and we are under the Department of Environmental Services, and we provide free transportation consulting to businesses in Arlington County, focusing specifically on teleworking, biking, walking, carpooling, vanpooling, taking public transit. Together, like by implementing and assisting in implementing these programs, we are able to remove 21,000 cars from the road. And by removing those 21,000 cars on the road, we have a very positive impact that we create. We decrease the traffic congestion, we improve air quality, and which benefits everyone's health. And ultimately, we make Arlington County a great place for everybody to live, work, and play. Next slide. So this slide is sharing you about introducing you to our team. As I mentioned before, I'm Pinky Advani, and those are my two colleagues, Katie and Erin, who will be co-presenting with me. The map on the screen shows the information about the territories, essentially the client, the school portfolio that is covered between Katie and myself. So essentially, all schools that are located in North Arlington fall under my portfolio, and all schools located in South Arlington fall under Katie's portfolio. And Erin doesn't get to split the territories. Erin gets to work with all schools. And at this point, I would like to introduce Katie and Erin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really looking forward to talking with y'all and hopefully meeting with you eventually. If, as Pinky mentioned, if you are located in South Arlington, I will be your Arlington Transportation Partners rep. And I'll let Erin introduce herself as well.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. It's good to see your faces. Names pop up, but yes, I'm Erin and I am part of the site plans team. I am a planning specialist with Arlington County. I do work with Arlington Transportation Partners, but I will be the school's county liaison. So I'll just be working with you all to kind of make sure those physical facilities are in compliance, like bicycle parking, the locker and shower facilities, transportation information displays, but we'll get more into that as the presentation goes on.
So we just get started now on the presentation that we've had an opportunity to introduce ourselves and ATP. So essentially ATP is your best role. So you as a school transportation coordinator will be always working with two people from Arlington Transportation Partners. It's going to be Erin, who's going to be working with all schools, no matter where your school is located. And then the second person who you would be working with is either Katie or myself. So Erin, you would be meeting her annually. Every year, once a year, you will meet with Erin, and she's going to help you, to go over all the site plan items. So anything that, she will make sure that you're following the plan. She ensures that, your your school is compliant with all the site plan conditions that are required. She will provide you guidance on the county standards, so once a year you meet Erin and that's it. Now, whereas for Katie and myself, you will be meeting with us regularly because we are your go-to people. So anything like, making sure that your transportation brochures are there in the kiosk, promoting events, local event, and national events like Bike to Work Day, Bike to School Day, all that. We can assist you with that. We will also be assisting you with creating, the informational package for back to school to share with your colleagues, to encourage participation in the commuter benefits program. And then lastly, we will also be working with you and enrolling your school in the Champions Annual Rewards and Recognition Program. So when in doubt, just send all three of us an email, send one of us an email, because I know it's hard in just today's training to remember who do I contact for what. So just contact us all and one of us will definitely get back to you. But the main takeaway from this slide for you is you meet with Erin once a year on site plan, and Katie and I are your day-to-day, everyday contact. Now that you're a little bit familiar about our roles, about ATP, and you've met us, at this point, I'm going to, give it over to Katie, who will take a little deeper dive about your specific role as a school transportation coordinator, as well as sharing some information about TDM, which is Transportation Demand Management.
Thank you, Pinky. Oopsies. Always a little PowerPoint mess up. But to start, we'd love to introduce you also to your important role as the school transit coordinator or transportation coordinator. You will help implement transportation demand management or TDM strategies at your school. This is part of Arlington County's site plan process, which requires every new and renovated building in Arlington to meet sustainability requirements. You will be expected to know about the information and resources available to Arlington Public Schools employees who are working at your school, and Arlington Transportation Partners will help you will work with you to along the way to help answer any questions, provide brochures and promotion materials, and assist in coordinating events or spreading the word of regional transit updates. So what is TDM? TDM is, and well, first off, I just wanted to, start this by briefly talking about TDM and to kind of help understand your role with Arlington site plan process, and really knowing to where you fit into this role can help you to kind of best work with your staff and employees in your school. But one of Arlington County's goals is to help reduce traffic congestion from getting worse, and there are many ways to do this. The infrastructure is one important way, so how streets are designed or how buildings are designed, but by allowing space for people who want to walk, bike, take transit, or even carpool and vanpool, our streets and our buildings will support the choices of everyday commute options, and new buildings in Arlington therefore have a major role to play, and schools are just the same. But we can't design buildings and roads and hope that people know how to use them. That's where Arlington Transportation Partners and now you as the school transit coordinator come in. And we are here to teach you about all the amenities, options, and benefits that are available to you and your colleagues. And we will always be a resource in your back pocket when you need a refresher or, a new thing is coming up and you want to learn about it, you can reach out to us. For your priorities, I kind of, wanted to start and so you can give with priorities so you can know and be expected in what to know in your role, excuse me. But in no particular order, you should know the closest transportation options near your school, such as the closest bus stop, as well as transit fares, including the students' iRide Smart Trip cards. You should also know the closest bike routes, where the school's bike facilities are, and all of the different transportation benefits available to APS employees, including bike share, including capital bike share, I should say. And we'll go into more detail at this towards the end. You will also be responsible for knowing about carpool and vanpool parking at the school and any type of specialized parking specific to your school. Now I will pass it on to Erin to talk about the site plan process and the standards your physical spaces should be in. Erin, take it away.
Erin, you are muted.
Yeah, thanks.
No, sorry. First, the site plan process starts with the pre-approval process, which is basically the developer proposes the site plan, and then the county and the developer negotiate that plan and its conditions. Once the county board approves the plans, we move on to the next phase, which is the permits and construction. And some of you may be familiar with this because that's where a lot of the APS school sites are right now in the process. And basically the plans are prepared and reviewed for construction permits during, along with the transportation management plan or the transportation management plan. When approved, the developer, the project manager, and the site plan team work together to implement the requirements. One of these is identifying who the property or school transportation coordinator will be, which is you all. And Arlington Transportation Partners is responsible for training these school transportation coordinators, which is what this presentation is for. And that step, along with many others, helps check the boxes required for the sites to receive its certificate of occupancy. And that means that the building can officially open for business. And basically third, the ongoing efforts is kind of what we got into a little bit, which is when you all would meet with me for the annual site visits or just, it's not really actually limited to the annual site visits. If there is an issue with any of the facilities or anything like that that needs to be signed off on, or you guys aren't sure it's in compliance, then you would meet with me and also one of your ATP representatives. So yeah, next slide. And just kind of what we talked about earlier, ATP will kind of work with you for some of the promotional things like Carpool Vanpool and, marketing. I would kind of be your go-to for the physical spaces. So, outdoor and secure bicycle parking facilities, making sure those are up to code and match what's in the transportation management plan. For instance, with secure bicycle parking, making sure that the right lock is on the door, that there are the proper amount of spaces, proper type of racks within the secure bicycle parking facilities. With the shower and locker facilities, making sure the right number of lockers, the right number of showers, that they work, that it's accessible, that people know it's there and for their use. Same with carpool vanpool spaces, making sure that those are properly marked and visible, and that whoever wants to use them has the programs and spaces available. Transportation information display, making sure that is accessible, functioning, meets the Arlington County's standards for transportation information displays, and then connecting you with Katie or Pinky to kind of get some of that updated marketing like brochures and maps and things like that. Kind of what I mentioned with the facilities upkeep, making sure things are working basically. So if something's up with the bicycle parking, you all would reach out to me, and then we get a visit on the books and we can go over that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Pass it back to Katie.
Thanks, Erin. As the school transportation coordinator, you should be knowledgeable about the transportation service at the school. And some topics to highlight are transit options, such as the closest bus stops or metro stops and route information, the typical fare and fare structure, and how to obtain passes like the Smart Trip cards or the Smart Trip iRide cards for the students. And this also includes bulk ordering for relevant regional transit systems. For transportation information, this focuses on information regarding to other transportation options nearby. This will include bicycle routes near your building, how to access on-site bicycle facilities. This includes bike racks, lockers, and showers. You should also be familiar where the closest Capital Bike Share station is, and other nearby stations as well, along with the process of joining and the age restriction, which is 16. Also, please become familiar with car sharing and the companies operating in Arlington. So Zipcar is the only one current ride sharing service and car sharing service that, car sharing service that is available in Arlington. And please know of where the closest parking spaces are and how to join. And you should also be aware of ride sharing services such as vanpooling and carpooling, as well as taxi companies and how to contact each of them. And the ever-growing micro-mobility. So these are e-scooters and e-bikes, those that aren't docked. So Capital Bike Share is docked, and usually the scooters are not. And so please just be aware, of maybe which companies are in the area and what apps that they, the apps that they use. So you can just suggest that to someone who might be looking for a quick, short ride. For on-site transportation resources, please be knowledgeable about the transportation services at school, such as the on-site amenities like the staff and visitor bicycle parking, and again, this shower and locker access. And familiarize yourself with Guaranteed Ride Home, other ride matching services the county offers, and regional benefits offered by Commuter Connection. As well as the location and restocking production of the on-site transportation information display, which we will go into depth a bit more later. For parking, please have knowledge that revolves around the understanding the permit parking and overflow event parking procedures that apply to your school. And if you're not familiar with these, you can either reach out to myself or Pinky, or go to the online tools listed in this PowerPoint deck, which you will all receive access to after this training. So there are many online tools available to help you navigate around the region. Arlington's Urban Villages offers transportation options available in each of Arlington's neighborhoods. Car Free Near Me offers real-time car-free options by address. And the commuter page is a one-stop shop for transportation information. So promotion material, and this is what will go in the transportation information display. And it's best to keep note of the number of brochures that you have and reach out to your ATP rep, either myself or Pinky, for a brochure order. You will also receive an email following on Monday from your appropriate ATP rep, either myself or Pinky. But if you aren't sure, you can reach out to any of us or including Erin, and we will point you in the right direction. So one of us, either myself or Pinky, will assist you in ordering the right brochures to meet the needs of your school. And you can also request a school's quick glance as a good starting point. This will show all of the relevant commuting options and transit options closest to your school. So some of the best practices to look at, you should take note at which supplies look low first. That's a good indication of which are the most popular, and you can place a new order with one of your ATP reps. And at the beginning of each school year, you should work with your ATP rep to provide you with the APS benefit booklet. This contains information on the APS employee commuter benefits, the Capital Bike Share corporate membership, and more information on carpooling and vanpooling. Once you have received a quick glance and the relevant transportation brochures, it is the responsibility of the school transportation coordinator to distribute these resources to staff and just let and APS employees, excuse me. And new school year packets should also be distributed to the employees relatively early in the school year if possible. And these should include the APS benefit booklet, school's quick glance, and transportation brochures. And you should also have the Capital Bike Share corporate membership flyer in your transportation information display. Now for carpooling and vanpooling. These have been popular commute options for decades now, and while they've taken a bit of a break during the pandemic, the request and formation rates of carpools and vanpools have increased recently. But first, what is the difference between carpooling and vanpooling? Well, carpools are an informal arrangement between colleagues or friends to ride together in one vehicle. The vehicles are typically owned by an individual in the carpool, and it is not strictly used for commuting purposes. Carpools aren't available for most pre-tax benefits unless that there is a specific benefit that your employer offers. Vanpools are an arrangement between predetermined passengers who start and end a trip in the same or nearby location. Vans are typically leased or rented specific for the commuting purposes, and van pools are available for the pre-tax benefit, direct benefit, and regional benefits. To manage a carpool and vanpool program, you can create and provide, or you will need to, excuse me, create and provide unique hang tags or stickers to identify registered carpool and vanpool vehicles. And also please maintain a list of carpool and vanpool participants and their contact information. You should also verify quarterly that they are still actively part of a pool. But how can ATP help you with your program? This might seem like a pretty big, mountain to climb, a task to do, but we can assist with the carpool and vanpool ride matching by providing promotion materials to facilitate a match. We can also help to connect employees with regional resources, such as the Commuter Connection ride matching services, regional benefits, and the Guaranteed Ride Home program. And ATP can provide pre-designed flyers, posters for the promotion of the carpool and vanpool program. We can also aid in your understanding and explanation of the tax benefits of the vanpool programs to school staff, and we can provide examples of parking signage and markings, as well as a template for registration and tracking forms that you should have to help, manage the program. And finally, joinavanpool.com is a great program that ATP runs that helps individuals find a vanpool that's already in operation or help to form one if there are enough people interested in this specific area going a specific direction. So I will now send it back to Pinky to talk about the employee transit benefits before taking time to answer your questions.
Thanks, Katie. So it's the last piece of the puzzle. I know there's a lot of information being shared between Katie, Erin, and myself. But before I dive into the transit benefits, I just want to let everybody know that ATP is here to assist you. All throughout the process. We are here to help you communicate all these benefits and transit options and the benefits to your colleagues, so you're not alone. So definitely make sure to reach out to us. So the last thing that you as an STC, which school transportation coordinator, you need to familiarize yourself is with the benefits that APS offers, the different commuting benefits that they are, that you can take advantage of. So sorry. So number one being that the transit flexible spending account. So, the transit, which is essentially managed by Discovery Benefits. It is the same company that manages the other APS FSAs. So the transit flexible spending account is essentially it's a pre-tax benefit for transit or van pooling. So if anybody chooses to, when they say transit, it's like if you are choosing to use public transportation, so whether it's a metro rail bus, whether it's a metro bus or an ARC bus, that allows you to elect up to $280 a month, which is taken from your paycheck pre-tax. So you're not taxed on that. You can choose to put $280 aside to use towards commuting, which is again, has to be public transportation or van pooling. So the benefit here is that it reduces your taxable income at the end of the year. So that's a great saving. So over and above the transit flexible spending account, APS employees also can receive a direct subsidy under the TDM benefits, which is administered by the APS facilities and operations. So, sorry. So depending on the mode an employee chooses, there is a direct subsidy associated with that mode. So say, for example, if an employee decides to walk or bike to school every day, and that's going to be their main commuting mode, then they can get a $30 subsidy towards that. Say if somebody chooses to carpool, depending on how many people you are carpooling with, two people or three people, again, there's a transit subsidy associated with it, as well as for public transportation. It's a $60 transit subsidy, which personally I think it's great. The only commitment over here is whatever mode you choose and would like to avail of this benefit, and the participant must confirm monthly participation of at least 60%. So they're not looking at 100% of the time you have to bike or walk to school as your prime commuting mode, because they understand, like, if it's bad weather, it's very cold, it's snowing, it's raining, you may not choose to bike or walk that day. But so long as you're doing 60% of the time every month, you can take advantage of this benefit. And then lastly, all APS employees can take advantage of the free Capital Bike Share annual memberships. I'm sure everybody has seen the red shiny bikes all throughout Arlington. So the annual membership, if you were to purchase without this benefit, it's $95. But as an APS employee, you can get it for free. And the best thing about Capital Bike Share is the first 30 minutes of every ride is free. So if your ride is under 30 minutes and you are able to dock it back, that ride is free. And Michael can share the information about the flyer, about if you decide to sign up for that free membership, how do you sign up, like the steps to sign up for the membership. Michael can share that flyer with everybody. So, if you're on the fence about it, I think it's a great option, and take advantage of it, and make sure you communicate all these benefits to your colleagues. And at this point, I think we're going to wrap up with that training. That's all we have to present, and we are open to taking any questions. So if you have any questions right now, you can put it in the chat box. If you just feel like, because we understand it's 4 o'clock, it's end of the school day. So if you think of something later, feel free to email either of us, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. I think I see somebody typing in the chat box.
I see a couple of people messaging info. Okay, Anne asks, where do we find the information that is specific to our school?
Yeah. So, and like all the transportation options close to your school, I don't know which school you are with, but between Katie and myself, we can, you can reach out to us and we can schedule a brief meeting with you and, share all the customized resources that are available and we can, send you all that information.
And Emmett asks, lots of info to disperse at our school. Is there a website that we can point people to where they can read about things like benefits, etc.?
Yeah, so there is a link to the benefits page, which was shared with us. Actually, we had a training before that, so we can share that link with you. But what we can do is one thing that I would like to highlight is we have this document called in what we call is a quick glance sheet. So the quick glance sheet is customized to every school. So in that quick glance sheet, it essentially gives you all the transit options available for that particular school. So what's the closest bus stop, what is the closest capital bike share station, where is the closest zip car station? So all that information is in that one PDF document, and we can create that for everybody, for all schools, and we can share that with you. So that way it's easy for you to share that as an STC to your colleagues and everybody. So if you want to just get in touch with us, anytime today, tomorrow, you have our contact information. We'd be happy to schedule one-on-one meetings with you, and start creating these quick glance sheets. We can also do one-on-one presentations at different schools. If you feel you want to do a presentation with your colleagues and have Katie and myself, one of us, come and talk about, the transit options, and pretty much we are open to that too. So feel free to send us, because we want to make sure that we make it easy for you.
Another question, is the STC a stipend position or in addition to our usual daily duty/tasks? And I'll leave that for Michael to answer.
That's a great question, Lisa. And that's something that we actually approached the county about. So when we were given something a little separate from what this position includes, this position has to do with permitting, it has to do with zoning, it has to do with ultimately our certificate of occupancy. So not to get into the nitty-gritty details, but I think Annie's question earlier reflects what I'm going to say. One is that everyone on this call right here is part of something called a long set. And in that long set exists all the detailed information for each of the sites. So it will list all the bike racks. It will list y'all as contacts. It will list the bike facility. It will list the number of students, the parking spaces. It has a plethora of information in there. All that stuff has been gathered over the last, I'd say, year or so. Erin is the one that goes out and does all those sort of reviews. All that information has to be posted online. So having this discussion with this group is helpful, because when we have to post that stuff online, and when I say online, I don't just mean on our intranet site, right? That's only available to APS employees. It has to be posted online for the public. So as part of that requirement, what we could also do is include some of these other information items that have been discussed here, right? This quick glance sheet. So when we list those for these schools, we'll have the long set, which has the detailed information only for those facilities that are required to have that information. You have a short set, which we haven't done yet, which is beyond this group. It's a thinned out version of that. But we can also include some of this other material that has been shared, the quick glance, maybe some of the links to certain things. All this being said, when the county approached us with this, we asked that and said, hey, is there any available monies that we could go ahead and designate as a stipend for our transportation coordinators? Because we're moving away from STCs, because that has a different sort of meaning in the APS world. So we're trying to relabel it TCs, but it's another hard thing to do. So we received nothing but crickets on that front. The stipend was just sort of like everyone heard what we said, not really acknowledging it, but I would say that it's something that we are not still pursuing. It's always something that we will pursue on the behalf of our APS employees. I mean, it's just something that I think that, should be considered. And we had some success with some other types of stipends recently. And maybe if Kathy has some more to add to that, she can go ahead and say.
Right. So Michael and I discussed this as we realized the breadth of responsibilities a transportation coordinator would have. And so that's why we did bring up the stipend to the county. What we will do too during this next budget cycle for 2024 is put it in our budget. So we're going to make the ask, like we've made the ask for other stipend positions in the past, like sustainability liaisons, PR positions, things like that. And we will stress the need for it because like you have all said, there's responsibility, there's knowledge that you need to know to be a transportation coordinator, especially for our long set schools, which are really our schools that have just been redeveloped or built new and things like that. So we do appreciate that, and we will continue to ask for it and request it in this budget cycle.
All righty, thank you for answering those questions. And I think we have one more question coming up.
So there's no restrictions. We reach out to the principals at each school and say we need to have this position filled, and we request someone that they recommend. And that's how Michael has started to put his list together this summer, and also to get ready for all of these training sessions as well. So we often have assistant principals, we will have administrative assistants in the admin office. Sometimes we even have principals. So there's just a whole range of folks that are transportation coordinators. And if there are no more questions, and like the ATP team has said, please email them if you have additional questions. I think it's 4:30 and we'd love to have you end this session so you can go on with your evening. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And we look forward to working with everybody, and have a good evening.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Have a
Thanks,
good one.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.